Sigrdrífumál, the Ballad of the Victory Bringer, also known as the Brynhildarljóð, Brynhild's Song. The so-called Sigrdrífumál, which immediately follows the Fafnismál in the Codex Regius, without any indication of a break, and without separate title, is unquestionably the most chaotic of all the poems in the Edda collection. The end of it has been entirely lost, for the fifth folio of 8 sheets is missing from the Regius. The gap coming from the first line of stanza 29 of this poem. That stanza has been completed, and 8 more have been added from much later paper manuscripts. But even so, the conclusion of the poem is in obscurity. Properly speaking, however, the strange conglomeration of stanzas which the compiler of the collection has left for us, and which in much of the same general form, seems to have been lain before the authors of the Volsunga saga, in which 18 of its stanzas are quoted, is not a poem at all. Even its customary title is an absurd error. The mistake made by the annotator in thinking that the epithet Sigrdrífa, rightfully applied to Brynhild as the bringer of victory, was a proper name has already been explained and commented on. Note on Fafnismál. Even if the collection of stanzas were in any real sense a poem, which is emphatically is not, it is certainly not the Ballad of Sigrdrífa, which it is commonly called. Ballad of Brynhild would be a sufficiently suitable title, and I have here brought the established name Sigrdrífumál into accord with this by translating the epithet instead of treating it as a proper name. Even apart from the title, however, the Sigrdrífumál has little claim to be regarded as a distinct poem, nor is there any indication the compiler did so regard it. Handicapped as we are by the loss of the concluding section, and of the material which followed it on those missing pages, we have yet see that the process which begun with the prose Sigrdrífumál Sinflotla, and which interrupted by the insertion of the Gruspispa, went on through the Reginmál and the Fafnismál, continued through as much as the Sigrdrífumál as is left of us. In other words, the compiler told the story of Sigurd in mixed prose and verse, using whatever verse he could find without much questioning as to its origin, and filling in the gaps with his own prose. Sigrdrífumál Sinflotla, Reginmál, Fafnismál, and Sigrdrífumál are essentially a coherent unit, but one of the compiler's making only. They represent neither one poem nor 3 distinct poems, and the divisions and titles which have been almost universally adopted by editors are both arbitrary and misleading. The Sigrdrífumál section as we now have it is an extraordinary piece of patchwork. It is most unlikely that the compiler himself brought all these fragments together for the first time, little by little through a process of accretion, and also unluckily through one of elimination. The material grew into its present shape. Certainly, the basis of it is a poem dealing with the finding of Brynhild by Sigurd, but of this original poem, only 5 stanzas, 2 through 4 and 20 through 21, can be identified with any degree of confidence. To these 5 stanzas should probably, however, be added some, if not all, of the passages, stanzas 6 through 12, in which Brynhild teaches Sigurd the magic runes. These stanzas of rune lore attracted sundry similar passages from other sources, including stanza 5, in which a magic draught is administered, not necessarily by Brynhild or to Sigurd. That curious rune chart in stanzas 15 through 17, on stanzas 13 through 14 and 18 through 19. Beginning with stanza 22 and running to the end of the fragment, stanza 37, is a set of numbered councils closely resembling the Lodfafnismál, Havamál stanzas 111 through 138, which manifestly has nothing whatever to do with Brynhild. Even in this passage, there are probably interpolations, stanzas 25, 27, 30, 34, and 36. Finally, and bespeaking the existence at some earlier time of another Sigurd Brynhild poem is stanza 1, sharply distinguished by its metrical form from stanzas 2 through 4 and 20 through 21. Many critics argue that stanzas 6 through 10 of Herleif Brynhildar belonged originally to the same poem as stanza 1 of the Sigrdrífumál. The Sigrdrífumál then must be regarded simply as a collection of fragments, most of them originally having no relation to the main subject. All of the story, the dialogue, and the characterization are embodied in stanzas 1 through 4 and 20 through 21, and in the prose notes accompanying the first 4 stanzas. All of the rest must equally well, or better, be transferred to the Havamal, where its character entitles it to a place. Yet stanzas 2 to 4 are as fine as anything in Old Norse poetry, and it is out of the scanty material of these 3 stanzas that Wagner constructed much of the third act of Sigrid. The Sigrdrífumál represents almost exclusively the contributions of the North to the Sigurd tradition. See introductory note to the Gruppsbók. Brynhild, here distinguished by the annotator as Sigrdrífa, appears simply as a battle maid and supernatural dispenser of wisdom. There is no trace of the daughter of Búthli and the rival of Guthrun. There is, however, so little of the poem which can definitively be assigned to the Sigurd cycle that it is impossible to trace back any of the underlying narrative substance. The nature and condition of the material have made editorial conjectures and imitations very numerous, and as most of the guesses are neither conclusive nor particularly important, only a few of theirs are mentioned in the notes. Sigrdrífumál. Sigurd rode up on Hindarfjall and turned southward towards the land of the Franks. On the mountain he saw great lights, as if fire were burning, and a glow reached up to heaven. And when he came thither, there stood a tower of shields, and above it was a banner. Sigurd went into the shield tower and saw that a man lay there sleeping with all his war weapons. First he took the helm from his head, and then he saw that it was a woman. The mail coat was as fast as if it had grown to the flesh. There he cut the mail coat from the head opening downward, and out to both the armholes. Then he took the mail coat from her, and she awoke, and sat up and saw Sigurd, and said, "What bit through the byrnie? How was broken my sleep? Who made me free of the fetters pale?" He answered, "Sigmund's son was Sigurd's sword that late with flesh had fed with the ravens." Sigurd sat beside her, and asked her name. She took a horn full of mead, and gave him a memory draught. "Hail day, hail sons of day, and night and her daughters now. Look on us here with loving eyes, that waiting we victory win. Hail to the gods, ye goddesses, hail! Hail, and all the earth generous. Give to us wisdom and goodly speech, and healing hands lifelong. Long did I sleep, my slumber was long, and longer the griefs of life. Odin decreed that I could not break the heavy spells of sleep." Her name was Sigrdrífa, and she was a Valkyrie. She said the 2 kings fought in battle. One was called Hjálmgunnar, an old man but a mighty warrior, and Odin had promised him the victory. And the other was Agdan, brother of Altha. None he found who fain would shield him. Sigrdrífa slew Hjálmgunnar in the battle, and Odin pricked her with the sleep thorn in punishment for this. and said that she would never thereafter win victory in battle, but that she should be wedded. And I said to him that I had made a vow in my turn, that I would never marry a man who knew the meaning of fear. Sigurd answered and asked her to teach him wisdom, if she knew of what took place in all the worlds. Sigrdrífa said, Beer, I bring thee tree of battle, mingled of strength and mighty fame. Charms it holds and healing signs, spells for good and gladness runes. Beer, I bring thee tree of battle, mingled of strength and mighty fame. Charms it holds and healing signs, spells for good and gladness runes. Winning runes learn, if thou longest to win, and the runes on thy sword hilt writes, some on the furrow and some on the flat, and twice shalt thou call on Tyr. Ale runes learn, that with lies the wife of another betray not thy trust. On the horn thou shalt write, and on the backs of thy hands, and need shalt mark on thy nails. Thou shalt bless the draught and danger to escape, and cast a leak in the cup, for so I know thou never shalt see thy mead with evil mixed. Birth runes learn, if help thou wilt lend, the babe from the mother bring. On thy palm shalt write them, and round thy joints, and ask the fates to aid. Wave runes learn, if thou well wouldst shelter the sail steeds out on the sea. On the stem shalt thou write, and the steering blade, and burn them into the oars. Thou high be the breakers, and black the waves, thou shalt safe the harbor seek. Branch runes learn, if a healer wouldst be, and cure for wounds wouldst work. On the bark shalt thou write, and on trees thou be, with boughs to the eastward bent. Speech runes learn, that none may seek to answer harm with hate. Well he wins and weaves them all, and sets them side by side. At the judgment place, when justice there, the folk shall fairly win. Thought runes learn, if all shall think thou art keenest minded of men. Them wrought, arranged, and them he wrote, and them in thought he made. Out of the draught that down had dropped, from the head of Heth-Dropnir, and the horn of Hodrofnir. On the mountain he stood, with Brimir's sword, on his head the helm he bore. Then first the head of Mim spoke forth, and words of truth it told. He bade write on the shield before the shining goddess, on Arvak's ear and on Alsvith's hoof, on the wheel of the car of Rungnir's killer, on Sleipnir's teeth and the straps of the sledge, on the paws of the bear and on Bragi's tongue, on the wolf's claws barred and the eagle's beak, on the bloody wings and the bridge's end, on the freeing hands and the helping footprints, on the glass and on gold and on goodly charms, in wine and in beer and on well-loved seats, on Gungnir's point and on Grani's breast, on the nails of Norns and the night owl's beak. Shaved off were the runes that of old were written, and mixed with the holy mead, and sent on ways so wide, so that the gods had them, so the elves got them, and some for the wains so wise, and some for mortal men. Beach runes are there, birth runes are there, and all the runes of ale, and the magic runes of might, who knows them rightly and reads them true, has them himself to help, ever they aid till the gods are gone. Brynhild spake, Now shalt thou choose, for the choice is given. Thou tree of the biting blade, speech or silence 'tis thine to say. Our evil is destined all. Sigurd spake, I shall not flee, though my fate be near. I was born not a coward to be. Thy loving word for mine will I win, as long as I shall live. Then first I rede thee, that free of guilt, toward kinsmen ever thou art, no vengeance have, though they work harm thee. Reward after death thou shalt win. Then second I rede thee, to swear no oath, if true thou knowest it not. Better the fate of the breaker of troth, and poor is the wolf of his word. Then third I rede thee, that thou at the thing shalt fight not in words with fools, for the man unwise a worser word than he thinks doth often utter. Ill it is, if silent thou art, a coward born men call thee, and truth mayhap they tell, seldom safe is fame, unless wide renown be won. On the day thereafter send him to death, let him pay the price of his lies. Then fourth I rede thee, if thou shalt find a wily witch on the road, it is better to go than her guest to be, though night enfold thee fast. Eyes that see need the sons of men who fight in battle fierce. Oft witches evil sit by the way, who blade and courage blunt. Then fifth I rede thee, though maidens fair thou seest on benches sitting, let the silver of kinship not rob thee of sleep, and the kissing of women beware. Then sixth I rede thee, if men shall wrangle, and ale talk rise to wrath, no words with a drunken warrior have, for wine steals many men's wits. Brawls and ale full oft have been, and ill to many a man. Death for some and sorrow for some, full many the woes of men. Then seventh I rede thee, if battle thou seekest with a foe that is full of might, it is better to fight than to burn alive in the hall of the hero rich. Then eighth I rede thee, that evil thou shun, and beware of lying words. Take not a maid nor the wife of a man, nor lure them on to lust. Then ninth I rede thee, burial render, if thou findest a fallen corpse, of sickness dead, or dead in the sea, or dead of weapons' wounds. A bath shalt thou give them who corpses be, and hands and head shalt wash. Wipe them and comb ere they go in the coffin, and pray that they sleep in peace. Then tenth I rede thee, that never thou trust the words of the race of wolves. If his brother thou broughtest to death, or his father thou didst fell, often a wolf and a son there is, though gold he gladly takes. Battle and hate and harm, methinks, full seldom fall asleep. Wits and weapons the warrior needs, if boldest of men he would be. Then 11th I rede thee, thou wrath thou shun, and treachery false with thy friends. Not long the leader's life shall be, for great are the foes he faces.